Hey, welcome to Reed with Creek Farm. Tim, almost said Allison. Hannah, oldest daughter. Remember last video we talked about our...
Started off nice.
About this? Last video we talked about our major garden transformation. We also mentioned having a kitchen garden. This little bitty kitchen garden has been here for 6-8 years and it was fenced in. And of course this year we said, no, we're going big. So we got a busted oven and triple the size.
We are in the original kitchen herb garden where we have our different culinary herbs and such. It was fenced in until this year when we decided to majorly expand it. Last year, outside of the fence, we added some echinacea, some comfrey plants have been there for a couple years. So we've just kind of added a couple herbs outside that garden. In our converting lawn to garden video, we put down a bunch of cardboard and mulch to get the ground ready for planting lots of new herbs. And then while we were doing our major garden renovation for our other big garden,
You said, oh,
we were running out
I
of
need some tomatoes,
time.
some space for my
to
tomato plant.
our garden plants. It was like April's coming up, we need to get my plants from inside out into the garden. And so he's like, how about I make you some rows in the new kitchen garden that we are expanding. Was just gonna be a big open area to stick in different herbs, which we were trying to think, what is this design gonna look like? So we did the same method as in the big garden here, made some long raised bed rows.
Yeah, they're not as permanent. I mean, we can switch it around. This particular garden will probably end up still being just a large kitchen slash herbs slash culinary herbs, medicinal herbs. It's closer to the house, it's less veggie intensive.
We stuck out our summer veggies, yes. Lots of tomatoes, eggplant, lots of peppers, basil and onions. It's kind of a garden of all
trades
this year, so we don't even know what to call it. There's been some confusion about the garden names because we actually have 3 gardens now. We have the big garden where we grow our vegetables and we call that the garden. And then this has been the herb garden for many years. It was our little kitchen garden. But then last year we made another herb garden with medicinal herbs, and we've been calling that the herb garden extension.
The main garden has been called the main garden. This has been called Lauren's garden at some point. It's been called the kitchen garden.
If we're saying, let's go out to the garden, we say, which garden?
Which
We have to
direction?
clarify.
So what should we call it for the video?
I'm calling it
The kitchen
garden, yeah.
The
kitchen herb garden.
The oversized kitchen garden, which is
Very oversized.
quadrupled in size. If you watch our video converting lawn to garden, right, you will see us talking about mulch, and that was fantastic. Well, that was right here. Well, because we needed to plant stuff right away this year, we couldn't just wait for it to decompose. And so what we did is we brought some dirt mulch from the woods, which I know y'all can't do that. You know, if I can do it, you can do it. Well, this particular step of the process, you can't necessarily do. We had some loggers come in years ago, and by this time, this particular pile of dirt and mulch and wood was decomposing so beautifully that we went ahead and brought it and put it to use. It's the same similar situation that we had in the big garden, a lot of sifting, a lot of raking out sticks and stones and roots. But the end product was something that we could manage with a rake and then shape to certain size. We can shape it into rows. I like the line method. You see my lines? I did boom, boom, stake it, shape it, make them look very uniform. Hannah transplanted. She's been doing a great job starting seeds indoors. Check out this video. And it was a shame to put all of her beautiful trays of transplants and have nowhere to plant them. So my job this year was creating garden real estate. Okay, this year I'm not that involved in the actual what is growing, where is it growing, how well is it growing. I'm just create soft, lush ground for people to put seed in, transplant, bring stuff up. So I'm into the real estate business. Do you know that? Yeah. So what? What's next?
I've learned about companion planting and how planting different varieties of plants together can be very beneficial for them in a lot of different ways. So this year I'm trying it kind of for the first time. I've planted basil with my tomatoes, which has been cool. I've even heard that it can flavor the tomatoes, the basil can flavor the tomatoes, so I'm eager to see if that is really the case. Planting onions with tomatoes, I've heard eggplant and peppers are good to grow together, so trying that. I am excited to have this whole new garden section full of summer veggies.
This whole space that we haven't exhausted yet, so we have room to grow, which is a good thing. I want to show you a raised bed that I made. And the purpose for this raised bed is that we have a driveway beside it and the gravel had gone too far. And so when we tried to plant things, it was very rocky. So instead of removing rocks, I said, I'm elevating the dirt. We brought some railroad ties and brought some dirt, really lush black dirt from the woods. So we have a big raised bed for Hannah to begin planting some stuff. As we proceeded this away, this is kind of a dead zone, as in that we haven't put it to use yet, but we will maybe make a walkway this way, make some mini rows to finish off, or we could make some beds. I'm not sure what this is going to look like, but in our summer garden tour, you'll see something going on here, and that'll be fun once we show you all of the things we got growing. Behind the camera, there's a strip of about 10 feet wide, 10 feet this away, and all the way to the end. There we'll see some things growing, but we do have to leave a pretty major walkway, probably right here, because we got to get to the propane tank. That's that. Our kitchen garden has turned into a commercial kitchen garden, huge garden. And so we hope to put it to use and grow, grow, grow.
Oh, look, it's a green light. Okay, here we go.
Speaking about growth, I was tossing and turning the other night and thinking, man, the word growth keeps coming.
So glad.
Why would I preach? It's a thoughtful moment. Hey y'all, here's a thoughtful moment. I was tossing and turning the other night thinking, the word growth kept coming into my mind. I was like, what's all this growth stuff? Growth, growth, growth. It wasn't bad growth, like as in a body growth. I can't be totally serious. Growth sounds pretty bad. Context is key. All right, we're talking garden, so growth is a good thing. I remembered that our first blog has the word growth in. Can you help me with what it said? Raising kids on sunshine and love on the red Georgia clay. So the title of our blog was called Growing Reeds. We're growing exponentially. That's what I said in the previous video. So the exponential growth had to do with outward growth, growing in size, growing in space, growing in garden real estate. Where can we do our new growth? Then growing in knowledge, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of helpful things on there, a lot of reading, a lot of garden books. My kids are growing up and it's so awesome that I'm no longer asking them to do chores, but they're actually investing themselves, owning up to things. And so we have a bunch of adults and growing kids helping out new ventures and helping each other up, doubling up responsibilities. So we're growing. So that's a good thing. I wrapped it up in my head like, hey, that's in the Bible all over the place. Growing in wisdom, in stature, in favor with God and man. The Bible talks about it from the beginning, like I think it mentions it with Moses, it mentions it with Daniel, it happens with Jesus himself. And so that's a concept that, just do the right thing, seek out God's will, learn his word, his will, and his ways, and you will grow in wisdom, in stature, in favor with God and man. So growing is a great thing. Grow. It's May. Since January, pretty much, is that when you started Indoor Seeds?
February.
Beginning
of February.
This has been an not arduous, it was fairly cold. Arduous comes from the word heat. In Spanish, it's arder. Arder means to burn.
Okay.
Hot. Arduous means
hard.
Hot. Arduous. I suspect you'll cut that out. In country living, maybe y'all don't know, but every season is big in its own way. Very different, but very hard. This particular winter, we did a lot of spring type work. We worked on the garden, that garden, this garden, and a future garden. Remember we were talking about the names of gardens? The reason it was all confusing is because we have 4 gardens in our minds. There's a bigger one out beyond Guido over there. Future garden, yeah.
You said we were working on the garden all winter, but it really started midwinter, which we don't usually work on the garden in the winter anyway, but we've done so much work on the garden, so much expanding that it was the time crunch. Like, I wish we had started this in November.
Yeah, because we created a little hoop house.
Yeah, I mean,
and we said, just decide, oh, let's take up the fence. Sure, why not? Let's expand the strawberry. Yeah, sure, why not? It's the expansion of the garden real estate.
And for all that we did it very fast. I mean, you did a ton of work.
Nonstop.
nonstop, but it was crunching into the springtime, and that's how we kind of ended up with
So
this.
now we're not at a stopping point. We're at a stopping point as far as growth expansion wise, but now it's time to grow this way. It's time to grow up, time to water well and weed well and tend to actual gardens like all of y'all are doing.
Now it's gonna get crazy in a different way. The summers, the harvest,
Yes.
the preservation.
Reeds against weeds. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's deep. That's the deep thing you were looking for. She said finish with something.
Reeds against weeds.